Joining us from the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, is my colleague and friend from the NFL Network and NFL Media Group, Ian Rapoport. How you doing, Ian?
What's going on, Rich? How are you? Excuse the grunts and yells and whistles and horns.
I love it.
At the Senior Bowl.
You're amidst the evaluation.
Sitting on a couple dummies.
Okay.
Not humans, but not smart people, but I mean actual dummies.
I appreciate it.
We're having this conversation.
Okay, great. Look, this is great. I love it. This is you're giving flavor and calling in right from the middle of everything. So walk me through the Broncos try to get DeMeco Ryans at the last minute. Try and snake him from going to Houston and then turn to Sean Payton? Is that what your reporting is, Ian?
Well, this search has been a winding road for the Denver Broncos. And, you know, it basically started with three top candidates. It started with Dan Quinn, who, of course, eventually went back. It started with Jim Harbaugh, and it started with Sean Payton. At various points, they decided that DeMeco Ryans would be their guy because his interview absolutely blew away Greg Penner specifically. Then they took a secret trip to Ann Arbor to go visit your friend Jim Harbaugh, who told them, I'm good. I'm just going to stick in Michigan for at least another year. Tune in next year for when we do this all again. And then they went back to DeMeco Ryans, who at that point made it clear, actually, I want to go to the Houston Texans, so I'm not doing a deal, but Houston is where I want to be. At that point, they went to Sean Payton, who obviously was, one of their top choices to start, but, he is where he is in the pecking order in this instance. Then my understanding is at some point in there went to DeMeco as well to make sure that, see if his deal was in fact getting done in Houston, and then agreed to terms with Sean Payton to be their next head coach.
Okay. $20 million a year? What are you hearing? What's your thoughts?
I don't have firm numbers, but my guess is that's where it probably will land.
Wow. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, the organization. Yeah, I mean, he was rich anyway, but
no, I know, but good for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he landed in an okay place. There were not a lot of great jobs this year. Everyone had a little something wrong with it. I feel like the Texans was probably the best because you could build from the ground up. Panthers was also really good because you just needed a quarterback. But, with the Broncos, you have Russell Wilson, obviously. You have a good defense, but a lot of money in a quarterback who did not play well last year. It's an organization that they probably need some work, and I would assume he was going to get to work on that. But, that's where he ended up. And, I think it was pretty clear that he wanted to be in coaching this year rather than be on TV. So this is, kind of how it transpired.
And so DeMeco Ryans going to Houston, how did that become so solid? Is it because of his background with the franchise in the city? Is that essentially it, or what? What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, first of all, I would say he was clearly the Texans' first choice. They were his first choice. This was one that I think just made too much sense. And Nick Caserio, when you're looking for a coach, and obviously they've done this a couple times in a row. From my understanding, the biggest thing here is just who's the best leader. And for those of us who have spoken to DeMeco Ryans or spoken to people who know him or watch him as a player, this is a born leader. And he comes at a really critical time in the franchise when they bottomed out. They are in good salary cap space. They got the number 2 overall pick. They need a quarterback. And their culture is about to start heading in the right direction. And he's, to me, the perfect guy to do it.
And so what about the rest of the openings? And who are they tagging? What do you got for me on the Cardinals and Colts right now?
Cardinals, Lou Anarumo is interviewing today, and Brian Callahan, those are the 2 Bengals coordinators. They're interviewing today and tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Presumably they would come to a decision then. The interesting thing for me is going to be, let's say the Cardinals don't come to a decision. Let's say they just say, okay, we're continuing our search. Well, that will make you think that they are targeting someone who's still playing. And to me, Jonathan Gannon would be the one if they are targeting someone still playing. So that would be kind of interesting to see where that goes.
The DC of Philadelphia is what you're saying.
Yeah, someone who I think, was considered to be a really strong candidate with the Houston Texans as well. So that's one thing. The Colts are going to interview Shane Steichen still. I believe that is her 7th and final second-round interview. Pretty thorough process.
Right.
And then, they're going to pick someone. And I think the early thought was that, it's probably going to be Jeff Saturday. I'm not so sure we're there anymore. I mean, I still think he has a chance, but it seems like some of the candidates did really well. Raheem Morris, I've heard, has done very well. I think that's, certainly one to watch. Sounds like Rich Bisaccia has done really well. I mean, I think there's a lot of guys who have. I'll be curious to see what they pick. But, seven finalists, tough to know which direction they're going right now.
Ian Rapoport, NFL Network Insider, NFL Insider right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, walk me through what you know about Tom Brady's decision to hit send on that retirement video.
So I will say this. I try with what I do to be obviously ahead of things and to know and to talk to people, figure out what's going to happen before it happens.
Right.
I did not know that he was going to retire. The people I spoke with, also probably didn't know, but thought that he would play. Now, I've since learned, I would say probably yesterday afternoon, I learned about the family obligations he has, his desire to be in Miami, to be with his kids on a regular basis. And that was the first time yesterday afternoon here in Mobile when I was like, you know what? Maybe he won't play because he wasn't going to be with the Dolphins. I think that was clear. I'm not so sure returning to the Bucs was something that was really in the cards. That was probably clear last week to me. So then it was retire or go to like Vegas or somewhere else, and that's being away from your kids a lot. And I don't think he was going to do that. So he retired, and no one asked my opinion, but I do think he made the right decision.
Okay. Well, are you saying that just knowing the personal stuff that you're not sharing because that's not your job to share that stuff? I mean, is that what you're basing that on?
Well,
what you just said?
I think, being around children, being with your family, if that is the most important thing, and it sounds like it is to him, then being across the country, not able to see your kids on a regular basis,
right,
just doesn't make a lot of sense. Does not make a lot of sense. And unfortunately, we all know the news that, what happened with his very public divorce with Giselle. When you're not there and there's a wife who can pick up the slack, that's a marriage, basically.
Right.
When it's not like that, then it becomes very different.
So, based on what you're saying, he surprised some people close to him by hitting send on a retirement video today.
Well, I think he's surprised. I think, well, let me say something else. The people close to him have known this was a very difficult year. And with all the discussions I've had about, like, where's Brady going to go? Is it going to be San Francisco? Is it going to be Vegas? Is it going to be Tennessee? I knew it probably wouldn't be the Bucs. Like, all these things. The one thing that I kept hearing was it was difficult for him to play this year. Like, he was going through a lot. And to get himself to a point where he could be ready to play, focused, fully ready. What goes into every Sunday for these guys.
Yes.
It was hard. It was hard. And, as I always say, it's important to remember that these are humans. And Tom Brady, as awesome a football player as he is also a human. And I think it was tough to play every week. And that's, another reason why I think this was a good decision.
Ian Rapoport, couple minutes left with him. He's in Mobile, Alabama, on the field at the Senior Bowl right now, covering that for NFL Network. So what's the deal with Rodgers? He went on McAfee on his usual Tuesday spot. He's going to play golf this weekend, talking about how in a couple weeks he should have a little bit more solidity on whether he wants to play or not, and then remarked about apparent trades that are being mentioned regarding him that he's not involved with. What do you know on this front here?
Yeah, I was, with Aaron, it's tough to really know what he uses words, and he's very specific in what he uses, but it's never quite the whole story. So he said, there's conversations that have been going on without me. Were they trade conversations? Did he mean conversations about the future of the franchise? Did he mean planning that he wasn't involved in? Like, what did he actually mean? And, I don't know the firm answer to that. And I don't know that the Packers have engaged in any trade conversations per se. So I would say, to me, is a trade possible? Like, yeah, I think a trade is possible. Sure. Is staying in Green Bay because he'd like to finish his career there and just kind of sucking it up and moving forward? Like, yeah, I think that's possible too. Retirement seems less likely to me, just because of the $60 million on the table. But I could see it going a couple different ways, honestly.
Okay. And then just returning to Brady, one last one here, Ian. Is TV? I mean, obviously, the contract's sitting right there. Does anybody know, or have you heard what his next move will be? And I know he probably would be just like, let me be. I just made this announcement. Chill out. But, there's a Super Bowl on the network that he signed with coming up,
I mean, it's funny. So, we chase these stories, right?
Right.
And we try to break stories. And one I've been trying to get for a couple months unsuccessfully. So if anybody knows, they should call me and tell me. If Brady didn't make the Super Bowl, would he be on the broadcast? And nobody would say. So might he make an appearance during Super Bowl week? Like, who knows?
Right.
Anything could happen. I think that would be some theater. Brady showing up in the broadcast, but, we'll see if that ends up happening.
Ian, thanks for the time, brother. I know you snuck this one in between hits from the Senior Bowl on the network. I'll see you next week. Thanks for the call.
All right. Sounds good, Rich. Look forward to it, man. Take care,
brother. That's Ian Rapoport, everybody, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.